Hi guys, very good morning to you. Welcome to the video number 242, and in this video I'm going to actually talk about the workbook command which we use in VBA a lot. So this is going to be the introduction, one of the videos in the VBA introduction. We have recently started this series, and I want actually, before you go ahead and watch my all the advanced and the intermediate level of the videos, you should be very much thorough with the VBA, the introduction part. You should be knowing that how exactly the VBA works, how to begin with the VBA basically, right? So in this series we are going to cover these actually couple of questions, and they are very helpful because whenever you work in the VBA, most of the time you always always play around with the workbooks. You compile the data from there, you save them, you close them, and there are a lot of things you can do with the workbooks. So these are the couple of questions which I have prepared for you, and these are what exactly we are going to do. So I'm going to actually talk about this, how to open a workbook, how to activate a workbook, how to find out the path of the workbook, on which particular path the workbook is there, and then how to see the name of the workbook, save and close everything. So this is what exactly we are going to do. So let us start our code and let us go to the Visual Basic, and let me insert a module for this. Now for those who are watching the channel for the first time, and just in case if you are a regular subscriber but you don't have any information, then please about the the different kind of videos. We have the videos on Excel VBA, Access and Access videos, Access VBA. Just go to this playlist and you will find here different kind of a collections, and just choose the category, whatever category you are looking forward to. For example, this is the series which we have recently started. If you are new to the VBA, if you have no idea about the VBA, or if you're somebody who really willing to learn the VBA and has a kind of a little idea about it, then please go ahead and watch these two videos. Even I would say if you know that the VBA very well, then please go ahead and watch these part 1 and part 2, because I have discussed a very important features in these two videos about the VBA, and as a beginner you are supposed to know that. If you know that, then nothing like it, right? Nobody can beat you in the VBA because they are the very basic videos. So this is another the video number 3 actually, which I'm going to upload there on this introduction. So in this video we are going to see that all these we are going to actually answer the questions which I have written here, and then you would understand that how easy they are, but at the same time how actually powerful these codes are. So the first thing which we want to learn is that how to basically open the workbook, right? So now for example, if I come here and I want to open any file, let it be we can go to the, let's say, data, and data is my folder, as you can see on my this desktop. So I can, let's say I want to open this workbook which has a name called Count Sum Family. So how are you going to do that? So the first thing is that workbook open. This is what exactly I'm going to write here. Workbook open code. Any name you can give. This has no actually relevance with our code, but I have just given it a name. Okay, now whenever you want to open the workbooks, this is what exactly you want to do. You need to write the workbooks and then dot open. You can see here, this is the method open, and start the bracket, and there you need to put the path. Okay, so whatever the path you have, if you have a D drive path, then please give it the path, but you need to give the complete path as in you need to also provide the file name. So I just go to this Count Sum Family, I click on right click on this, and I go to the properties, and I'm going to select in the securities, I'm going to select this complete path. Okay, so you see that it also includes the file name and the extension, which is very much important. If you will not do that, you will get the error. So I just put this path here and I close it within the quotes. Now this is going to open the workbook if this path is correct. Okay, so for example, let me just run it on the F8 mode, and you can see in the background this file should open, and there we go. As you can see that the file is opened. The Count Sum Family is, this is the long time back. I mean, I recorded a video on the Count Sum Family. A lot of questions you can see we have answered there. So if you're just interested in having this knowledge how to use the count and sum functions in the Excel, please go ahead and watch this video. All right, so now this video is this workbook is open. That's fine. Let me just close this. Okay, now what exactly the next question is? The next question is how to activate a workbook. So let's say if you have the workbook get opened. Now for example, let me just open it again. Let me maximize this. and let's go to the Excel this, and click here so that you can resize this. I can see that in the background that what is going to happen. So you know that the moment I execute this line, this file is going to be open. So how to activate the different workbooks again? Now you have the two workbooks open. One is the count sum family and the another is the intro XLSM. So how to get back to the previous one, right? So there are a number of ways of doing it. So I will simply write here workbooks, and then you can write the workbook name, provided it is opened, right? If it is not open, then you cannot use this. So my file name, as you know, that it is intro.xlsm. okay, .activate. This is how you can write this command. Okay, now what will happen, suppose now I run this command, and since this is already open, so I'm not going to execute it. I simply drag this here, and this will skip this line, and I'm going to execute this line. So I'm again going to press F8, and please pay attention. Look at here, you have a count sum family which you have just got opened. So the moment you run this, intro file will get activated. So in this way you can actually, get your workbooks activated. And not only this, you can also write the index number. For example, if I write here 2, which means that activate the second workbook. If you're going to execute this command, let me press F8, and now let's hit on this workbook to activate. You see that the count sum family is activated. So it's all about what exactly how you actually want to activate the workbooks. Both the options are open. This is more of an index option, where you actually tell that the workbook on the second index, the second position, it should actually get activated without really focusing on the workbook name, what name it is going to have. And this is again the way to activate it using the Excel file name. Okay, so these are the very important commands. Okay, now what is the next thing we want to do? How to see the path of the workbook. So let's say you want to focus that the file which you have opened, or maybe the file from where you are actually running the macro, what exactly the path of this, right? So you can do one thing. There are a lot of ways of doing it. Let me just copy this code, the entire code, and let's go ahead and prepare a different subroutine. I'm just going to paste it, and there we're going to write here path. Okay, now let's say guys, I'm just going to delete these two options. Now you open this workbook, and then what you want to do is you want to check the path of this. So you can write here active workbook, because active workbook is going to be your new workbook. Okay, now since this is a property, you cannot run it like this. For example, if I just close this count sum family workbook, and I'm going to reopen it. Now the moment you're going to open it, you will see the error invalid user property. Whenever you have this error, remember that you are actually trying to get some value, but you're not giving a message box, or you're not using a variable. Now active workbook dot path, actually this is going to give you the path of the workbook, but the point is how exactly the VBA is going to give you this. Obviously VBA needs a variable or a message box, right? Because this is simply a VBA syntax. It has to be stored somewhere. The information has to come somewhere. So what I'm going to do is, instead of declaring the variable, I'm just going to declare here the message box. Okay, now the moment you run this code, you see that in the background the file gets opened, and if you execute this line, this says that it is on my C drive, and this is my username Ajay Pamar, and on desktop, and the data is the folder which I was telling you, if you remember, right? Let me show you. This is the data folder, and underneath that data folder I have this file, right? Similarly, you can also do one thing. There is another command which you can write, message box active workbook. You can also write the name. Okay, now if you execute this line, then what will happen? Let me execute this line. Since the workbook is already open, so I'm just simply going to skip this and both the lines, in fact, because we have already seen the path. If I run this, you would see here the file name, the workbook name, which was intro. Similarly, one more command I want to tell you. I have covered this in my interview questions as well, but there I've talked about what is the difference between active workbook and this workbook. So if you're looking forward to these kind of questions which generally asked in your interviews, whether it is your Excel interview, VBA interview, or Access interview, please go ahead and find out the playlist Excel VBA Access interview questions, and there you would find around 12-13 awesome, pretty awesome videos, and I have lot of questions I have discussed there. So you can definitely go ahead and watch and try to increase your chances of being selected in the interview. Okay, now what is the next thing I want to tell you is there is another command which you can write, which is going to be the workbook.fullname. Now what does that mean? When you execute it, you will understand it. So I'm now just going to, I'm dragging this because we have seen both the options here. Active workbook.path returns the path excluding the file name. Workbook name only returns the path. Okay, as you can see, count some family, there is no path here, there is no direction here from where it is coming. But if you execute this line, then this line actually not only gives you the the file name, but also is going to tell you the complete path. You can see here. So these are the three lines. This is the difference between these three lines. Okay, now let's go to the next part. The next part is we want to actually let me first close this file. Let's come back to this. Now we have covered this, how to see the path and how to see the name of the workbook. Okay, now what is the next thing we want? In fact, we have also seen that how to find out the full name including the path and the name. Right now, how to save a workbook, this is what exactly we're going to do. Now let me copy this again, and we're going to paste it here, and I'm just going to name it as save. Now suppose you have opened this workbook and we don't need this now. I'll just simply delete it. Now once you are going to open this workbook, let's say you do some additions in that workbook, okay, or deletion, whatever. I mean your workbook is modified and you want to save it in a different folder or maybe with a different file name. So how you can do that? So it's very simple. You just need to write here active workbook dot save as. This is what exactly, if you use the save option, then it will only save the file, and I don't want to do that, right? So you can use the save option as well, right? But we are interested in the save as. Now where exactly you want to save the file? So I can save it in the E drive. So in the E drive, with what name I want to save it? So I'm just going to write here XLSX. Okay, XLSM actually, because that is the what is called the extension. Right now, let us just open this file, and before that I want to take you to my this E drive, and let's have a look here. If it is the file is there, you can see that there is no file as such with this name, I believe, which is 1.xlsm. right? So I'm simply going to open this file. The file gets opened, as you can see in the background. You see that the file is opened, right? And I can maximize it. Let me just maximize it so that you can have a look. Now this active workbook, which is your current part of your this window, the selection of your window, it is going to save as with the name called 1.xlsm, and it is going to save in the E drive. The moment you run this, the extension cannot be used with the selected file type. Okay, so the reason is because right now this file actually has an extension called XLSX. It has no macro, so I'm going to save it as XLSX only. Okay, so let me change, and now let's run this. And this is not, you just avoid this. This is something my own, actually the settings I haven't actually, I need to do some settings setting changes in my developer tab. That's it. But anyways, if you have a look at the file, now it is changed. You see the file name is changed to 1.xlsx. Now does that mean this file is changed in the C drive? Let's have a look. It should not change in the C drive, because in the C drive we should see the same file. So first of all, let me have a look on the E drive. You see that the file is actually changed, right? We have a new file here which is called 1.xlsx, and it is saved right away at 10:51 when I'm it's 10:52 right now on my machine, and it's 20th October. And then if I go in the data, I should see that the same file having the name count some family. Right, so there is no change to this because we use the save as option, guys. Okay, I hope that makes a sense. Right now, how about closing this workbook? Once you get that file open, for example, I have got this file open. Now what I want is how to close the file. So you can use a different command. For example, you can write active workbook dot close. Now this means that this is going to close the workbook. Okay, for example, if I run this, let me resize this. Okay, I got the count some family. Now I want to save as it. Now the file already exists, right? So if the file already exists, this will give you the prompt. Do you want to replace it? I want to replace it, yes. I will just wipe this error, and you see the file is saved. Now we need to close this. The file is closed also. You can see in the background there is no file basically. 1.xlsx. The file is closed. Right now, how about you want to close the specific workbook? For example, I have here, let me first close this PPT. Now let's say you have a couple of more workbooks opened here. For example, let me just open this a file called FV formula. Okay, now you have this workbook open, and from the intro you're going to run the macro, and then let's say let's get one more file open, which is maybe in the data I can open this 22.xlsm. right now you have a different workbooks open. You have the 22xlsm, then you have the FV formula, and then you have the intro file, let's say. Okay, now what happens, what we are actually going to learn in this, so let me just open that macro again. We were writing that macro in the intro file module 3. Yeah, that's the macro. Now what we want to do is when you're actually going to open this, let's say count some family, and let me by the way comment this out and this as well. Let's say you want to close the workbook which has a name called f22.xlsm. so how to close that, because that is not going to be your active workbook when you get this file open. So you can also write like this, workbooks, and then you should write the workbook name, the complete name, which is 22.xlsm. you don't have to provide the path because the file is going to be opened. So I'm just going to write here 22.xlsm and dot close. You can see this method automatically comes. Okay, so once you do that, let's have a look here. I'm just going to run this code again and let's see the difference. So I'm gonna press F8. Okay, now I press the F8 and the file should open. As you can see in the background, the file is open. So this is your active workbook now, but we are not using the active workbook. So maybe this 22.xlsm, maybe you have 10 files open, but it is going to find it out and it is going to close this. So if you have a look in my this taskbar, this 22.xlsm, if I just press F8, you see that this is closed. We don't have any file now. So we have now just this FV formula, count sum, and the intro. So we have only these 3 files, and that file is actually closed now. Okay, so in this way you can be very specific about closing the workbooks, right? But what if you use this workbook dot close? Now what happens, you're not specifying any file name. So if you're going to execute this, then everything will be closed. Remember guys, every workbook is going to be closed. For example, now I have here 3 workbooks open, as you can see, and I'm not going to open the file again. So I have the count sum family, I have the FV, and then we have an intro. So this is the intro one, and this is the intro VBA. So just leave it. This is called the FV formula, second workbook, and this is called the third workbook, which has a name called count sum family. Okay, the moment I'm going to run this, look at this, it is going to close everything. If you don't want to save a recent copy, the file will be temporarily available. So would you like to save the changes in the intro file? So let's say you want to save it, you can click on the save. You don't want to save it, it is going to click on the don't save. So it is actually asking you also. That's a good thing, right? So if you press, let's say, save, then what happens, it will close. You see that the file is closed, and the rest of all the files are also closed. Why? Because you did not edit those files. If you would have edited the other workbooks also, it would have given you all the options for every this workbook, that whether you want to save the changes or not. But the bottom line is, it is going to close all the workbooks. That is the important thing, right? So when you use this code, you need to be very attentive, because this can close your own macro as well from where you are actually going running this the workbook, right? So these were the commands, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know if you have any feedback or any comments to share, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do that, and we will be coming back with some more exciting stuff to make you just awesome in Excel. Thank you so much guys, have a wonderful day.